All right, I'm going to rush through this last item in this box. I was able to make a sizable purchase from Drive-Thru RPG, thanks in large part to folks using the link in my blog for my affiliate link in my blog, which is no extra cost to you, gets me a bit of a kickback, which I'm able to use to make some purchases. And thanks to that, I made a purchase of something I have been wanting to pick up for a couple of years. This came out when I was working in a game store back in the 90s, and I think it was 90s, maybe it was early 2000s, so I was still there. And whatever it was, I, at the time, completely dismissed it. It felt very anime to me. I'm not an anime guy, never have been. It was teen focused. I hated teenagers when I was a teenager, so I wasn't really interested in it. Whatever the case, something a couple of years ago I saw prompted me to get interested in it again, and it's been on my drive-through wish list ever since, and I finally cracked down and picked it up. And this is now you could look at it as an alternative timeline, but it was sort of a spin-off or a sequel to Cyberpunk 2020. My memory of it is that the corporate wars happened, the world went to crap even more than it was, and out of the ashes arose this next generation of punks, but they are sort of fueled with nanotechnology. I think there was some kind of nano plague or something like that, and it's infected. I don't know. I'll read into it at some point. But they were infected with nanotechnology, and so it's got a little bit of a, I don't want to say X-Men, but like a little bit more of a superheroic thing, because they've got things that jazz them up because of the nanotech. It's not just cybertech. And but yeah, 2027, so it's a few years later. My parents became cyberpunks, and all they left me with was this dark future. I cannot read that red writing on black. It is beyond my current eyesight. We have writers, of course, Mike Pondsmith. Let's see if I recognize any other names. Not really. But here's some credits if they're going to show up on my camera. And this is, to the best of my knowledge, this is a completely, I think this is a totally separate RPG. Like, it's not something that you use Cyberpunk 2020 to play. I believe it is its own game. It's got that classic 90s line art, which I love. Again, it's a little more anime, kind of goofy. Coming of age when I did, I feel like you either jumped on the anime train or you really, really didn't, and I really, really didn't. I saw a lot of it, because a lot of friends were into it, a lot of people I knew were into it, and especially back then, not as much anymore, but I will watch anything. So if somebody came in and had a VHS of this new anime and that they loved, and they'd say, "Hey, Matt, watch this." And I'd be like, "Okay." And I did. And so consequently, I saw an absolute metric crap ton of anime, and 99.9% of it I absolutely hated. So anyway, but I did love Cyberpunk, and unfortunately, U.S. animation was primarily for kids, so a lot of times the only animated stuff you could find Cyberpunk from was anime. Anyway, this looks pretty cool. So I'm jazzed to check this out. It now sort of exists as this alternate timeline, because now that 2077 or Cyberpunk Red and Cyberpunk 2077, I think that's correct, and Cyberpunk Red exist, this timeline is sort of not one that they followed through with. But it's interesting. I mean, Cyberpunk 2020 is now an alternate timeline to our real world, no longer a possible future. Anyway, have you checked out Cybergeneration? Did you play this back in 1995? I was right, it was the 90s. Did you play this back in the 90s? Did you play Cyberpunk 2020 back in the 90s? Or are you still playing it? The best I've managed to do is I used the Cyberpunk 2020 world So Night City and all of that. I used that world, and I used Over the Edge Second Edition, later released as Warp. But I used Over the Edge Second Edition and ran a cyberpunk game, which I really enjoyed. I don't know that my players were as into it as I was, but I was always a big cyberpunk nerd. I got into this aesthetic really early on. Also, just recently watched the first episode of Max Headroom again, which I hadn't seen since it was originally broadcast. Good stuff. Strangely timely, but anyhow. Until next time, I actually got through this whole box with time to spare. So until next time, take care.